Welcome everybody. We are live at V-Fest today, Conversations with Kush podcast. I am your host, Molly the Kush RN. I am sitting down with my friend Adam Wagner. Adam has brought some of his incredible drinks today, so he's going to tell you about those.
So these are our Twin Cities THTs. They're an Arnold Palmer style beverage, half black tea, half lemonade. They're 10 milligrams per 16-ounce drink, so they're the big boys to get you through the day.
Nice.
Perfect for summer days like this.
Nice.
You can't go wrong with a little Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, right? Yeah, put that over a little ice and you're good to go. Tell me how many milligrams again?
So there's 10 milligrams per 16 ounces.
Okay,
so
perfect.
per one can, there's 10 milligrams.
Yeah, sweet. So a pretty novice user could start here, kind of just go low and go slow is what we always recommend. Of course, if you're already comfortable with cannabis and you kind of know where you like to be, have at it.
Exactly.
Buy a 4-pack, right? Or 8.
Yeah.
So we're sitting down with Adam today and we're going to talk about home grow. Adam is a well-established and highly successful home grower. You've been doing it for how long?
I've been home growing for over probably 12 years now, a little bit closer to 13 going on now. Publicly, we've been doing it since 2017.
Okay.
Just getting out there, teaching people how to home grow their own, because there's no point to going out and trying to find product, especially back in 2017 days. It was a lot harder to find a bag than it is now, where it's a little bit more mainstream legal than it was back then.
Well, one of the things that I love about home grow is it is now legal. You can legally grow up to 8 plants in your home and have 8 plants, 4 flowering or in veg state, and then 4 ready to harvest. So I always tell people it's super important to know where your cannabis comes from, right?
Exactly.
So if you're growing your own, you know exactly where you get it from. So
Exactly.
Talk a little bit about how people can, what goes into growing your own cannabis at home.
So a lot of people want to make it seem like it's an extremely difficult task to handle. They want to throw a bunch of different environments into it and a bunch of different inputs into it to try to make things seem a lot more scientific than they really are.
Okay.
We got to remember that these things are a weed and they grow just wild everywhere.
Yeah.
In order to gain the most yield or the most terpene content, you got to dive in a little bit deeper. But at the end of the day, if you want a good, clean, smokable product that you're going to be proud of, that's going to get you higher than some of the bags that you get, growing from home and doing it in an organic way is something that I highly recommend.
Right.
And it's as easy as just throwing a bag compost on top of some light, airy soil.
Okay. Do you have to have a tent? Is that something that's recommended, or?
Not necessarily. You don't have to have a tent, but they're extremely easy to get and extremely easy to control the environment that way.
Okay.
Especially if you want to build one yourself out of PVC piping. Say you can get them down to $12 for an 8x8 by 8 tent.
Okay. So walk me through what a home grower would need if they don't have anything and they don't know what they're doing. What are some of the basic things that they would need to do and some of the basic steps they would need to take?
Seeds and genetics, probably the number one. Second, you'll need your pots. I recommend 7-gallon or 10-gallon fabric pots. They allow more aeration to the soil, so that way you don't have to worry about overwatering, because that's, especially in the beginner phase, you want to do so much to your plants. You don't want to just leave them there and kind of forget about them.
Right.
You want to be in there every day, when that's not necessarily what 1 or 2 or 4 plants even need.
Right.
Every other day is more than enough, but you want to watch that progress. So
right.
having the fabric pots allows you to be able to water twice a day, or you can set up on a gravity feed system where it's just a line going straight into the pot where you don't have to worry about watering at all. You just refill the reservoir every day. But otherwise, it's fairly simple.
Okay. We talked a little bit. I talked with Michael Ford earlier today, and I told him I've been finding so much joy in seeing him get satisfaction in his growing. He just started that journey last year when it became legal, and you're developing a relationship with the plant, right, when you grow it. And then to be able to change it up, or he said something it gets better every time, he keeps growing the same strains, and he's always trying to get the strain that works for him to its optimal, right? So talk a little bit about that and why that's important. And
so I love what Michael Ford has done, especially on the growing side of thing, where he's kind of invited people in on the learning process with him, which is an extremely as a grower grower for a lot of years, knowing a lot of other growers, that like growers' ego is a huge thing. So being able to admit, like I don't know what I'm doing, but we're following along together. That's a huge thing to kind of put yourself out there for, especially when it comes to growing, because people can be really judgmental, and that's no fun. But like as for like watching one strain kind of take off over time, like it's such a beautiful thing to see, especially if you're able to like create that strain yourself. Say I have the Lake Elvin Reserve line, which is a Gorilla Glue 4 crossed with the Northern Lights Blueberry, back cross onto GG4 to bring out some more of those mother traits, like the terpene content and the trichome development especially. But the first time I grew it out, I was like, what is this nonsense? Like, this is a trash plant. Well, like, I just didn't understand what it needed. And it kind of tells you over time, especially like when you're running, say, like I believe he's doing like bottle nutrients and stuff like that. You got to figure out, like be a mad scientist. Here's parts B, part D, part C. Figure out what goes in where, and especially at what point in time, If
someone's doing this on a budget, does that get to be costly, or like how can they mitigate that problem?
It does get a little bit costly depending on what nutrients you're using. Some of them are a little bit more expensive than they necessarily need to be. I think there's only like 4, like in terms of like liquid nutrients, there's only 4 main manufacturers that makes them, but there's 100 different brands out there. So like once you figure out who those 4 main manufacturers are, you can kind of break down which ones are better. The ones that are more focused towards like cannabis growing are going to be heavy in calcium and magnesium, which necessarily not every plant needs. They don't need heavy levels of calcium and magnesium. Other ones might need more nitrogen than the calcium and magnesium nutrient bottles have. So like in terms of like doing the mad scientist route, like that's good for maybe a year down the line when you kind of get used to it a little bit. I tell all my friends when starting off, do an organic living soil in a way. Where you're doing, shout out to Mr. Minnesota Nice. He taught me lasagna method back in like Mindo Dope days, back 2009, 2010. And I've been doing that ever since. Where you're layering inputs on top of each other, just straight on top of the soil and watering them in. So you get, a good composted manure, say chicken manure or something like that. Sprinkle it right on top, just water it in. Put some hay on top or some straw so you can maintain that moisture. Let those living bacteria inside of the and mycelium inside of the soil kind of have a place to live. And then you don't have to do much else other than that. You don't need a pH pen. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on that.
What about something like lights or fans to keep the plants cool?
Definitely need fans, but you can use a cheap $30 Walmart fan or go to the thrift store and find a $5 fan and just hose it down with some antibacterial spray. I've been using those small rotating fans that you get for $20 at Walmart. I've been using those my whole grow. There's no reason to go out and buy a $80 fan when realistically all those motors, they're this big. They're gonna poop out after a little bit of time. So
they're disposable, essentially.
Basically, and they're running constantly. So anything that's going to be running constantly and have that wear on it, it's going to go out.
So you brought up a great point about antibacterial stuff. So talk about a little bit about some of the things that people need to kind of be careful about when they're growing their own medicine.
So you want to keep a clean environment for sure. Maintain air movement around your plants, otherwise you get something called powdery mildew, which is like this white like film on the outside of the plant that kind of, it's mold. It gets into your bud, it creates like bud rot sort of thing, so you can get white mold based out of it, and it's no good and it's hazardous to your health too. The easy ways to mitigate it are using just like household items, hydrogen peroxide, a little 3% hydrogen peroxide in a spray bottle will help deter any pests and keep any soft-bodied creatures off your plants. Something called diatomaceous earth, which is really cheap at any of the grow stores. You can get a big giant thing of it for $5. That's great for any soft-bodied creatures like aphids that you might experience. Other than that, just maintaining a clean environment like you would a clean kitchen. You want to have some bleach on you, have isopropyl alcohol around. Although I highly more recommend the hydrogen peroxide because it's not going to be bad for your plants. It's
Or your body too much.
Or your body too
Yeah,
much either. It's not
right.
going to hurt your fingers like isopropyl alcohol will.
Right, or bleach even.
Or bleach even. But bleach is really good once you dive into more genetics and stuff like that. You can worry about things called like HLVD.
Sure.
Which isn't.
It's a viroid, right?
It's a viroid, especially. It doesn't get taken care of by hydrogen peroxide or ISO. You have to have a 90% bleach mix.
Okay.
Or a 10%, 90% water bleach mix. Otherwise, it still lives within your plants. So washing your utensils, say if you're taking fan leaves off or anything like that, the scissors that you're using, or even if you're using your fingers, making sure your hands are clean, because I know I kind of do that too.
How do people get the best yield? How do they get the best crop from the best bang for their buck when they're growing their cannabis?
It's really difficult if you're just starting out to kind of figure out that process. Lights are a huge source, but you don't have to go really expensive on the lights.
Okay.
It's just the more lights that the more expensive lights that you have, the deeper penetration they get, which means the farther away from the plants that you have to have them.
Okay.
I've bought $100 lights on Amazon that have done exceptionally well. That don't, you just have them a little bit closer to the plant, and it doesn't really affect too much.
Okay. And there's things like autoflowers too that will automatically just grow and be a full produced product in 45 days, right?
Yeah. Some of them a little bit longer than 45 days. It'll be rare to find a 45-day phenotype. That's just one of those like selling points that they use.
Okay, gotcha.
But if you're going to be doing autos, make sure you have big pots.
Okay.
Because the second that those tap roots, the main root that comes out of the seed, as soon as that hits some bottom or a side of a container, it starts to flower out. So the larger pot you have, the deeper that it goes, the bigger of an autoflower that you're going to get.
Okay. What are some resources where people can go to? Like if they're like me, and they don't know anything about growing, where can someone go to like figure that out and to have like a guidance system in that process?
Say I'm always around to help out. I love giving out free advice, especially to home growers. Always reach out to anybody that you see also growing at the same time, even if they have little experience or some experience, just because like everybody does something different.
Yeah.
Nobody does it the same, and every way is okay.
Yeah,
You know?
that's been kind of a confusing part for me because you hear all this like conflicting information, but I appreciate what you're saying that like nobody's one way is the right way, right?
No, that's the right way for them.
Exactly.
Like I used bottled nutrients for a few years. It didn't help me the way that I wanted to be helped. I was coughing a lot. It wasn't as smooth and as clean. It wasn't the smoke that I wanted.
Right.
So I switched over to the organics and like lasagna style method, and that's kind of what I give it more.
Okay.
But I have friends that they swear by these hydro grow like just hydro store bottle nutrients that they're like, no man, this hydro is the way to go. No bugs, no problems.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like floods because I've flooded a few basements over the years.
Right.
It sounds like having to always tinker around, make sure there's no dust or bugs getting inside of your actual reservoirs to lock anything up. And it's just,
So each method has its own challenges, and it's just about finding the one that works for you, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah. What grenade do you want to chew on, Because everything has its up and down. Everything, there's certain things that I hate about organic growing, like the bugs and trying to stay organic. I would love to just take some, Monsanto spray all my plants weekly and not have to worry about bugs, period.
Yeah,
but
we are not going to recommend that at V-Fest, though.
No, we're not recommending that ever.
Right? Ever. So lastly, let's just talk a little bit about how, let's say you're not a smoker, right? And you want to do a consumable or you want to make a brownie. How do you go from this beautiful plant that you've grown into okay, I'm going to consume my cannabis in a way that's not smoking? What's the easiest, best takeaway you can give on that?
If you're just starting out, I highly recommend some sort of oral substrate. It doesn't pass through the liver, doesn't become a entirely different drug, like 11-hydroxy. when it passes through your liver,
Exactly.
which is 10 times to 100 times, they're not sure,
Right.
more potent than just normal THC.
Right.
And it gives you a way different high.
Right.
I always recommend start out with the drinks. That's why I came out with them. I have these pearls. They're salted chocolate covered caramels
Yes,
as well.
I want to try some of those.
They're delectable.
I want to try some.
But they can bite you in the ass.
Okay.
you get eating them at 10 of them is really easy to eat. So you're down
Right.
50 milligrams, and you're going to get that heavy body more high.
Sure.
Whereas the drink, you're going to get more of a head high. You're
Sure.
going to be able to go about your day just without less aches and pains,
Right.
or less inflammation. And it's going to be a faster way to get into your bloodstream than edibles, which have to be digested, pass through your liver, then enter your bloodstream. These and tinctures, right away.
Right.
Within a few minutes, you're starting to feel the effects.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Which can lead some people to believe that they're not feeling it at all. Just 10 milligrams. If you're drinking this, it could take you 15, 20 minutes to drink that. That 10 milligrams is then spanned out over that time. It's not all uptake instantly. It's
Right.
slowly uptake. So you're kind of welcoming your way into it
Yeah.
versus jumping headfirst, which
Right.
highly recommend.
Yeah.
Especially smoking. You can't take smoking back.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you cough and you keep inhaling that, and it goes circles around inside of your lungs, you're kind of screwed in 20 minutes.
Yeah, right? Is there anything that you want to cover today that we haven't brought forward?
Just go slow. Take it super easy. Don't beat yourself up if things go wrong. Everybody kills plants. Everybody. Start out in seedling mats. You don't have to buy one. Just keep the seedlings warm. Put them in the sun if you can. Don't overthink it. Just go for it. Just do it. Just dive in.
One of the things I really want to plug too is I think there's been this really great push for people to have homegrown communities. You'll see them popping up at different dispensaries, something like Cannajoy, or previously at House of Oil Works, where Jude was hosting a home grow every week. Try and find those communities where people are also home growing and maybe are brand new to it.
Exactly.
So
there's one right in St. Paul here, Seed and Sesh, every
awesome.
Tuesday.
Yes, you're right.
Right off of Payne.
Yep.
They have a really wonderful community of people that come around and really help each other out.
What day is that again?
That's on Tuesdays.
Okay, what's the time?
I think it's after 5.
Okay,
But
cool.
I'm not 100% sure. I just kind of show up.
Yeah, nice.
And then there's always people there. The store is open from 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 or
Yeah.
something. So somebody's always there. Otherwise, Earl Giles on Wednesdays.
Yep.
There's always people outside talking about what they've grown, bringing it around, telling you their ways.
Yeah.
Just stay away from forums. Online stuff seems more daunting than it is, and there's a lot of people that are very, very mean.
Yeah, they're mean.
They're very mean.
They can be. Yeah.
Face-to-face interactions, while they seem scary, I promise growers are wonderful people.
Yeah.
We're growing flowers like tulips.
Yeah,
it's no different,
exactly. Yeah.
Don't look at us like we're dangerous people in any sense. We like we like daisies just as much as we like sunshine daydreams.
I have made it my mission this next season to get more familiar with growers, to build better relationships with them, and to learn about the growing process, because I think that's critical in understanding cannabis as a plant and how it can help people as medicine. So I just want to thank you for coming out today and sharing energy with me and sharing wisdom to my audience. And again, you are one of the people that, when someone said home grow, they were like, yeah, talk to Adam. I'm like, yeah, duh. It makes sense. So thank you for what you're doing by bringing forth beautiful products and always just being knowledgeable and approachable. I appreciate it so much, and I really look forward to developing a friendship with you.
Thank you for inviting me on. I appreciate it. And if you guys want to check me out more, Twin Cities THC Official on Instagram, Twin Cities THC on Facebook, Adam Wagner on Facebook as well. That's more like my personal, but I post a lot of cannabis-related information there.
Awesome.
And TwinCitiesTHC.com.
All right, so find Adam out in the community. And we are checking in from V-Fest today, Conversations with Kush podcast, and I'm your host, Molly the Kush RN. Come back and join us. Next, we're going to be talking to Latasia Erickson. She's an esteemed cannabis nurse and a very good friend of mine. She's going to be talking about safe consumption for the new consumer, so stay tuned.
Thank you.